Um, I'm lucky. I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of followers, and I think I'm going to lose some followers with some of the statements that I make, and I'm not going to back away from that. And let me tell you why. I predicted this about 3 years ago when the pandemic hit, and people, even before the pandemic and then after, employment was good. People could kind of pick and choose where they went. And I remember, and I won't mention the client's name, but I remember saying to a lot of people, I said, just remember something. Loyalty is a hard thing to find. People who start companies, it's tough. And I said, looking in the mirror and having self-awareness, and it's tough. When things get tough, what do companies do? As owners, we have to fight through it. What do employees do? They either choose fight or flight. A lot of times they choose flight. Well, I'll just find another job was kind of the pervasive attitude that I would hear at this company. And so I was talking to one of their employees, and she was very angry. She said, geez, we're not even getting merit increases, and, this is terrible, and management sucks. And I finally looked at her and I said, well, it's been 3 years. If you remember our conversation. She goes, I do. I knew you were going to bring it up. And she's really defensive. I said, why is that really important to you? And she said, what do you mean? I said, excuse me. I said, why is that so important to get your merit increase? She goes, well, I have bills. My credit cards are really high. And I stopped her. I said, hold on a second. Why are your credit cards high? She said, well, we took a trip with the kids, and then my husband, he got put down to part-time. Their company's struggling as well. And I smiled at her and I said, I want you to calm down. I want you to really think about me holding up a mirror. And I don't want your BS. I don't want you to sit there and give me all your song and dance and all your anger and all your emotion. The company made you go on vacation and go into credit card debt? And she got this look. And so I kind of portrayed that with theatrics, but that's pretty close to the way I talked to her. And I know her really well. And she goes, well, no. And I said, you just transferred your decision to the shoulders of management. Would you agree the company's going through a downturn? Yes or no? She said, yeah, but. And I said, no, but. Yes or no? She said, yes. Now, everybody, I teach coaching, right? I'm sitting here and I'm trying to get someone to look in the mirror. And I would, if I was teaching it, I would basically say, ask a lot of questions. And the question I got the answer to was, we took a family vacation, not the company's responsibility. Number two, my husband got put down to part-time. His company's struggling. So I said, that's reality. So what happens is you have to be resilient, but we also have to deal with reality. Some companies are in a downward spiral. Microsoft's laying off. Google's laying off. Facebook is laid off. Companies with billions of dollars of cash in their balance sheet. I don't have that. I'd love to have that. So the point being is, when I continued the conversation with her, I said, I'm going to ask you a really pointed question. And it's very, very personal. You don't have to answer it. Do you have a large savings? She said, no. I said, can I have your permission to really, really challenge you? And I'm going to make a statement. And I know you're going to want to rebuttal me and jump right down my throat. You might even want to punch me. And she started laughing. I used that to deflect the emotion. I said, so you chose a vacation over the fiscal responsibility of your family. That is really targeted. That is personal. Someone from the outside might say, boy, are you a jerk and you teach coaching? Now I know her. I knew I had some latitude. And she looked at me. She said, you're right. I said, so let's forget management. I think your raise is important, but you were so angry at management. Honestly, who else are you also angry with? She goes, my husband and myself. I said, look, these are tough times, right? And I said, so I want you to think about what we can do to make these interrupts in life, going down to part-time, not getting your raises, really, really more palatable to handle. She said, how do I do that? I said, do you take a percentage of your income to, put away for savings? She said, no, we're so tight we can't. I said, yet you were still willing to put your vacation on a credit card. How are you going to pay back the credit card? She goes, sometimes we're not. I said, okay. So here's what I want to do. I want to look at your finances. I want to put together a spreadsheet. I'm pretty good with this stuff. I said, this is how I run my company. And I said, I want you to just take money and just chip away. I want you to call the credit card company, tell them you're going into really challenging times. And will you work with me? They will work with you. Just don't do it when you're 6 months behind. She goes, it's great advice. And all of a sudden, our conversation was calm. Now, this is a good 40-minute conversation. Now, I looked at her and I said, I want you to really think about something. Most of us don't. Because when you go on vacation and you're doing something for your kids, right? It's awesome. Your emotions take over reality. It takes over objectivity. We can't afford this, right? And she said, yeah. It's okay. I said, what a great lesson. So I said, let's continue to look in the mirror. And I want you to think about resilience. What can you do to make more money? And she sat there and she goes, I'm only 5 days a week and I know some people have quit. I said, so if you picked up a shift, she said, yeah. I said, if you picked up a shift twice a month, how much extra money will that bring you? She said about $300-400 net after pay. And I said, awesome. You do that for 10 months. You don't have credit card debt. How you feeling right now? She said, relieved. I said, so there's a solution. I said, now, your husband's part-time. She said, yeah. And I said, he's what days or how many hours? She goes, well, they have him down to Monday, Wednesday, Friday. They think they're going to be able to sustain that. And I said, could he come here and do a Tuesday, Thursday shift? She goes, oh my God, I never even thought about that. I said, just something to think about. I don't know if he has these skills for this kind of machinery, and it's a shop floor operator. And all of a sudden, through some conversation, all of a sudden she was in a better place. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm a very straight shooter. If someone says, yeah, I just didn't have time to get ready, like my wife, when we meet another couple out for dinner, she goes, oh, I just didn't have time to get ready. I'm like, I was with you the whole day. You had time. Don't talk yourself into something that's not reality. So what every company needs, and maybe I serve this role, every company needs a group of coaching champions. A group of coaching champions, someone who's going to challenge somebody like I did with this young lady. And by the way, great person. And I said, you have a gift. Let's get this thing right. And let's really invest in you. And she said, could I work with you? I said, absolutely. And so we're going to work together. And I got a note when I came into work today, as I'm recording this LinkedIn Live event, and I got a nice email. She said, I talked to my husband. He's going to come in an interview. We're just feeling so much more optimistic. Because you know what happens when people go through tough times? We mentally get paralyzed. We start to look at what's happening to me. Look, the company's not paying me extra. I'm angry. And when emotions take over, especially negative emotions, we don't think clearly or rationally. I said, think about it. In 10 months, you're out of debt. If you did that for another 10 months, plus your husband's income, you could save up 6 to 12 months for that eventual another interrupt. There's going to be another interrupt in your life. She said, yeah. And I said, it's tough, right? And so what we have to do is teach employees feedback acceptance. Now, I knew her. I had latitude. I knew her well. I could do this. But every organization needs a group of coaching champions to build people up, to recognize the good things they're doing, and certainly in this case, challenge them. Now, had I been the normal employee to go, oh, yeah, management's screwing us. Yeah, they're really, yeah, it's not fair. This is BS, man. What we then do is solidify in the other person's mind. You are justified in your anger. What she literally said was, I've got bills to pay. I just went on a family vacation, but she had no savings. I don't know if you think I'm being a snob, but that is incredibly irresponsible. And when you have kids, you got to think about working ahead. And so by having that conversation, that frank conversation, I ended up giving her a brewer game. So, her husband and her could take their kids to a game and enjoy themselves. And that's a big night out. And it is, we're lucky enough to have brewer tickets, Milwaukee Brewer baseball tickets. And she was like, oh, thank you so much. And I said, look, what do you think about the tunnel now? Do you see the light at the end of the tunnel? She goes, yeah, it's a lot brighter after this conversation. And what I did is I had her look in the mirror. When you look in the mirror and you demonstrate resilience and reality, then you can start to strategically solve things. But it shows the psyche of the mind. Now, I just read an article about somebody who got laid off at Google. So I'm sitting here talking about someone on a shop floor. Okay. Now I want to talk about someone at Google. And the person really had a negative slant towards the organization. I mean, let's be candid. Google is one of the most innovative, creative very wealthy companies. So it would be easy to say, well, we're not performing, we're not operating at our maximum capacity, but we got a lot of money, so we'll just keep paying people. That's irresponsible. So if I have somebody on my team not doing their job, I can't say, well, she's pretty good. I like her. I'm going to keep paying her, even though she's not performing. And even though we don't have work for her to do. And these are the conversations where sometimes people have said to me, I'm really offended that you did that. I'm okay with that. Because I've said to my own daughter at Cornell, where she works, we talk about fiscal responsibility all the time. And now she's talking about, how to buy a house and all that. And I said, well, Bridget, when you look at the money that you have saved, how do you feel? She goes, really good. And I said, think about that. You don't have college debt. You have money in the bank. You have the ability to go travel when you want, but you're not doing it at the expense of your well-being. I said, how do you feel? She goes, oh, I feel great. And so she's starting to get that lesson, right? We had to learn that lesson, my wife and I. I mean, we went 7 years with a wife in medical school and residency. If I made good money and I was a salesperson at the time, that money went towards the medical college, which is great because we had less debt, right? And so when you go through those times, we have to help our employees look in the mirror. Yet, whether it's at a shop floor at a manufacturing plant or somebody at Google, what we have to do is build self-awareness, deal with reality. Okay, you're not going to retire at Google. That's okay. Let me ask you, were you complacent? Did you get fat and happy? Did you go above and beyond the call of duty? See, I think we as employees have a responsibility to differentiate ourselves, to go above and beyond the call of duty. If we just come in and I just want to do my job, what happens is we blend in with the rest. Remember, I love Gallup. 71% say they're neutral or actively disengaged. Only 29% are actively or positively engaged. Think about that. The opportunity to differentiate yourself is not that much. How can you do that? Be a coaching champion. If this intrigues you, we actually have a whole program where we work with leaders and non-leaders to literally have the conversation I had with this young lady. Now, not in the same framework or the fashion that I did because I knew her, but to challenge people when they're not exhibiting positivity, to help them and say, what are you going to do to positively overcome it? What could I do to assist you? See, when we don't say anything, we have given that person the false sense that it's okay. You're right. Leadership has it out for us. Management doesn't care about us. That's not always the case. It just isn't. When you look at, Howard Schultz at our congressional hearings getting drilled by our wonderful congressmen who have balanced our budget, and they've certainly, taken a pay decrease to help the American taxpayer. I'm being sarcastic. And they're drilling this guy over being a billionaire like he's done something horribly wrong. They pay much better than the average wage. If you work 20 hours, you get healthcare benefits. What other companies are doing that? And he's being criticized. And I'm happy that he fought back. If you haven't seen it, I'd encourage you to look at it. See, what we need to do at every company, what we need to do more than anything is we need to build up coaching champions inside our company. Here's why. If every leader has 10 employees and 7 out of 10 are neutral or actively disengaged, that's a tough pendulum to swing. Yet, if every team had 2 or 3 people who are recognizing their teammates' positivity, the positive contributions they're making, challenging those people who are not exhibiting positivity, guess what happens? We start to help the workplace culture. We start to help each and every team maintain a more positive mindset. See, when you hit tough times, and I will share with you at the start of the pandemic, I didn't know what was going to happen to our company. We've never been through it, right? You haven't been through it. And what happened is I told everyone, this is going to present the greatest opportunity our company's ever had. And it did. At the time, did I think so? I didn't know. Yet I had to create that mindset of everybody on the team. Now, my wife just left her practice after 26 years as a doctor. Now, she is a creature of habit. She does not look for change. She avoids it. And all of a sudden, her healthcare organization went through some major changes, had not handled things well, and she chose to leave. She went back to her old medical college of Wisconsin, Freighter Health Systems, where she went to medical school, and she goes, it's like old home week. I'm reconnecting with people. She's like energized. She wouldn't have done that. See, when we have interrupts and disrupts in our life, we need somebody in our life to help us look in the mirror. We need somebody to help us create self awareness. Who is that person? It's a coaching champion. Now, if this intrigues you, send me a message or message me on LinkedIn to send you information on our coaching champion program. This is where we teach everyday employees to use everyday conversations to protect the team and the organization's culture. And what you're really doing is helping that individual. Now, this young lady that I talked to, I've known her for a number of years. I had latitude in that conversation. So it's not, I would never recommend that format or that framework of how I had that conversation in the first conversation, never in a million years. Yet by the end of it, she was relaxed. Remember at the start, she was angry. We never went back to management. What she was doing was transferring ownership of her own irresponsibility to management. Look what they're doing to us. Then she allowed herself to be angry and then displace her anger. It was not the right thing. She was not doing it, quite frankly, the right way. She wasn't looking in the mirror the way she should have been. So what we have to do when we are dealing with fellow employees is help them. Help them develop resilience and help them deal with reality. See, when you deal with reality, strategy problems become smaller. When we don't deal with reality, like if I just said, oh, wow, it really stinks. Boy, they're really screwing you. Would I have helped her? No, I would have embraced her anger, told her to continue to vent to other people, which would have been disruptive to other people. She never would have looked in the mirror. She never would have solved her problem. She never would have thought about an extra shift. She would never have thought about her husband coming in and working part-time at the company. Within about 48 to 72 hours, things are going in the right direction. Now, a coaching champion does two things. One, they promote positivity by recognizing positivity. Number two, they challenge those who are struggling with positivity. Not in a way like I did, but using framing and coaching techniques. So again, a highly self-aware person is a person who looks in the mirror, is committed to dealing with reality, and willing to take actions that even require uncomfortable change to pursue reality and create favorable outcomes. That's what a highly self-aware person does. So again, if this intrigues you, do me a favor, put into the message, coaching champion, send it to me. I will get you some information. It is a great program, and we're teaching everyday employees, leaders and non-leaders, to use everyday coaching conversations to strengthen the team, the organization, and certainly the individual. Thanks for your time. I hope this is worth it. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks, everybody.